about being part of the North Burnham Regional Council is that we get to get around and meet so many good people over that period of time. And it's good to see the positive outlook that comes from those meetings. One of the great things about going to the different areas, travelling across this region, is that you see so many different aspects of what's happening, and most of it is agriculture, sure, but it's all to do with the way people are treating that product and going there. I'm not going to say anything about myself tonight. I think if people don't know me by now, then I've left it too late anyway. But what I do want to talk about is what Council has achieved over the last 4 years, but particularly what the plans could be for the next 4 years. Now, what Council has done over the last 4 years, and that is in the middle of dealing with 3 floods, 3 disasters, as well as a massive rain event in the last few months. Now, those disasters, I'm not going to use them as an excuse. I certainly don't want to use excuses. I want to say that we have dealt with those disasters, we have worked through them, and by doing that we have gained a great deal of knowledge of what governments are looking for when they hand out money for this particular service. And we have gained considerably over that period with different projects that we put forward. And probably after the 13th flood, one of the biggest projects that went in was the Biggenden Road and what happened there. It proved to be a very successful project because in the 15th flood, the road went under, certainly, but it was only under for a certain period of time, as was planned. It was planned for before it came out to speed in a matter of time, matter of hours. What we're pursuing through that road is to have it finalised. We just received another $2.5 million from the federal government to build that bridge over the creek. That will be done this year, admittedly with extra funds from the council as well, but we've organised that to do that project. The other one, of course, is the water supply in Biggenden that was washed out 2 times, rebuilt, and with the advent of the disaster money was rebuilt in a different place and built better, and is now one of the greatest promotions for the area and certainly for flood relief. And let me say that cost the council nothing. It was done through the government funding and government and the flood relief money. One of the things that I would like to see happen in the next 4 years is that we work more closely with tourism organisations. We know that the Bundaberg and North Burnham tourism is a very viable operation, and that it does work with us as well as it can under the funding arrangements that we have. But what we haven't achieved at this stage is the use of local people setting out innovative ideas themselves, working out what's the best way to get tourists to the area, how they can use those tourists to stay overnight, stay one more night if you like, and utilise those areas to take that further. Now, one of the things with that is most people who have places that they can utilise in that area, they're busy with their own businesses, and their own businesses take priority, of course. So we've got to work more closely with them to get them to build that operation up. I was over at Mount Perry yesterday, and I called to see a fellow over there who's got a horse property, cattle property, horse property, and he's got plans to develop that to bring young people into the area, to train them with horses, with cattle, and let them know what they can do with their future. Now that's something that we can work with too throughout the area with the young people, with the schools. We've already got trusteeship of Narayan, which is a property out of Mandurah, and that is owned by the Department of Agriculture, but it is worked by a management system of the Board of Trustees. And Council has 2 members on that, as well as a member from the department. I think if I wanted to talk about what council has achieved over the last 4 years. One of them is the transport system that operates across the North Burnett. It starts up in Monto, it runs down as far as Biggenden and Mundubra, and then another bus picks up near to take to the coast. And that bus runs across from to Bundaberg or to Maryborough on alternate days. It goes 4 days a week. It's great to see this happen. This has wheelchair access, and it's just won one of the major awards from the Queensland Government for innovative activity in getting that wheelchair access into the bus. It doesn't happen in very many of them, and this one was done because our council put it forward and carried it out. And the other area in Biggenden will be part of this is the railway yards. We work very closely with the people from Brisbane, Transport and Main Roads, who will come up, talk to us, talk to the people who want to utilise those grounds, and they have got the result of having access to the Chamber of Commerce in Biggenden. Is a very successful organisation, and they have got access to those grounds and they're using it now for overnight caravans to park there and close to the town area, close to the businesses, and they're there for 1 night or 2 the outside before they move on. And that is not 30 seconds. That is, thanks, Bob. You what are you going to do to me when I finish? That's not taking away from the caravan park, but it is allowing people to stay overnight and utilise the services there. The men's shed too have taken up the group.
That's just calmed down.
That's calmed down. So the men's shed, fortunately, has taken up the good shed, and it's a viable operation too. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, council haven't sat around doing nothing over the last 4 years. We're not going to sit around over the next 4 years either. And with your cooperation and through dealing with council instead of working against it, then we'll all achieve a great aim.
Number 1 mayoral candidate for the North Burnett Regional Council elections. My work background is in the civil engineering field. I've worked in both and with local government since 1972 when I joined Brisbane City Council Works Department. Then in 1987, Robin and I moved to Hervey Bay where I was the works engineer for the Hervey Bay City Council. This involved supervision of a large workforce which grew to 208 employees at its peak in 1995. I've worked as a consulting engineer for 21 years, the past 16 working out of the firm's Gander office on the Bridge Corner. I firmly believe that I have the right qualifications to lead the North Burnett as your mayoral representative. Robin and I moved to Gander in the year 2000 for me to provide engineering services to the North Burnett region. Prior to amalgamation, these services included working for the Eidsvold Shire Council, amongst others, as Eidsvold's resident engineer. Some of the larger projects that I worked on for the Shire involved the design and the construction of the access road to the Carrara Weir. And another major project was the construction of the 2-lane bitumen seal standard of the last 27 kilometres of the Eidsvold Theodore Road out to the then Shire's western boundary. After the series of floods which began in the year 2010, I was heavily involved in the supervision and contract administration of the road reconstruction flood recovery work in the North Burnett, working out of the Gander office. This work included the administration of the contract that the Abbey Group carried out throughout the North Burnett, and this project grew to in excess of a $50 million contract. I authorised progress payments for over $50 million. Now locally, my involvement in the Gander community keeps me busy, having executive positions with the Gander Lions Club as their Secretary Treasurer. I've served 2 terms as their President, and I've had 3 consecutive years as the Lions Zone Chairman. The zone coincidentally aligning with the North Burnett region, so there's a Lions Club in each, except for Perry Lions Club, in each of the 5 towns in North Burnett. I've been involved with the Gander Jockey Club since 2003, serving as their secretary. So, why have I decided to throw my hat in the ring and nominate as your mayoral candidate? I love living in the North Burnett and enjoy the laid-back lifestyle of our area, the down-to-earth nature of the residents. I'm proud to invest here and call the North Burnett home, where we enjoy great weather and stress-free traffic. Unfortunately, some of our towns are looking tired and have lacked significant attention from our council for some time. I believe that this basic neglect from council has left ratepayers and residents bewildered and wondering if they really are important anymore. The effectiveness of any mayor depends not only on their ability and willingness to listen to residents and ratepayers' concerns and ideas, but also on their ability to address these concerns. Teamwork is vital. Councillors must work closely with residents, not just at election time, but on a regular basis all through their term. The mayor and the local councillor must be accessible, as they are the conduits to the community. So, as mayor, it is my intention to schedule regular sessions for public community consultation for residents to express their concerns, in a similar vein to what our state and federal representatives do when they have sessions in each town in the area. Now, I believe that the basic infrastructure in the North Burnett has deteriorated in recent years, and the management of our assets has become inadequate. The plant fleet has been reduced, so the ability to maintain infrastructure has been greatly limited. For example, the number of road graders has decreased from 14 prior to amalgamations to currently only 9 graders in the whole region. I will undertake to have a maintenance program installed for bitumen resealing, gravel road reshedding and unsealed road grading, so that each road is addressed in a scheduled manner. Economic development is a field that should concern us all, and I am eager to develop any opportunities that will encourage growth in our region. I'd like to investigate the possibility of further developing our relationships with the Wagner Group and their Wellcamp Airport, and also with the Port of Brisbane Authority in regard to export opportunities out of those 2 locations. I'm also keen to look at staffing structure to determine if administration and management is too top heavy, and that if our outdoor workforce is too thin on the ground. I understand that the annual wage and salary bill has blown out from $9 million prior to amalgamation to currently $14 million. Now, at 63 years of age, I believe I'm still young, and after 43 years in the civil engineering business, I've decided to focus on a new direction, and that is as Mayor of the North Burnett Regional Council. I see the mayoral role as an opportunity to use my skills and knowledge to make a significant and practical contribution to the North Burnett. I believe that I have the professional and business knowledge needed to successfully lead a new North Burnett Regional Council. Let's get the North Burnett moving. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank Pascal for organising this off his own back. It was very good of you, I think, to organise such a fair debate, and I take my hat off to you. I spent the first 38 years of my life not being interested in politics at all. The childish behaviour that we see in federal government, the boring local government meetings that I thought were boring, now take on a whole different meaning. I didn't enjoy the first 38 years of politics because I actually didn't understand it. That once I understood that at its essence, at its truest form, politics is just about people. It is about getting the best deal for your fellow man, that I became interested. And I became interested in politics in general, but politics in the North Burnett especially. I first came to this region 11 years ago when I was dating the police sergeant's son from Biggenden, Brent Chambers. He brought me home and introduced me to his parents. The region 11 years ago was a much different region to how I see it now, that On a Saturday morning, the streets were hustling and bustling. The shops were filled up in the main street. Everyone seemed to be doing something and happy about it. So what's changed? Why are our people deflated and our towns looking a little bit rough around the edges? I believe it's down to a 12-letter word, amalgamation. Now, amalgamation, I can't find anyone in the region who believes that it has benefited our region at all. I have asked around and I can't find anyone. But what's done is done, and we can't go back. So the only choice available to us is to move forward. I believe a new council must re-establish a relationship with their community. This is what I believe is lacking. That since amalgamation, the relationship, the personal relationship that one used to have with their shire clerks or councillors has been lacking. That council needs to re-establish this in a timely manner. Token gestures of elected council are not good enough anymore. Elected council must be involved in their community. They must not just go to events, not just turn up when they feel like it's a good time to turn up, but actually talk to the people and submerge themselves in the issues. Your elected council is your voice. This month you have a choice to make, and I'm very aware that few of you know anything about me. So, I'll tell you something. Some say I'm too nice for politics. I say, please don't mistake niceness for weakness, because to do so would be a mistake. Some say I don't have enough local government experience. I say I spent the last year upskilling in local government policies, procedures. I've been to the last 12 months of local government meetings here. I've read local government policies, agendas and minutes of a lot of the different other areas. I've spoken to different mayors of different areas. I have been working towards this job. I've also worked in economic development along local, state and federal government, and I'm aware of how state and federal government works. I am not a career politician. I'm a businesswoman who is a strong, passionate, proactive and dedicated advocate of the North Burnett. Some say I don't have the connections in state and federal government to acquire funding. I say I've been working on these networks and connections so I can hit the ground running if elected. We all know that governments change far too often, and so I've been working with both sides. I have strong communication skills and I will get results in George Street and in Canberra. Some say there's hard decisions that need to be made in council. I say I have never shied away from a decision just because it was hard. I'm ready to make them. Some say I will be disappointed with the financial position of council. I say I already am. I've been looking at these finances for over a year. It would be fantastic to have unlimited funds, but it is not going to happen. The only option for the North Burnett is to think our way out of the situation we have found ourselves in. We need a council that provides leadership and vision and is a facilitator rather than a regulator. My focus is to ensure council becomes a proactive facilitator of communities' needs and desires, a positive influence in community, a council with vision, strategy and ideas, a council that can take us into the future. But this isn't a one-woman or man show. To enable progress for the region, you must vote in your most passionate, dedicated, community-minded workaholic for your division. It is the councillors who are the decision makers and planners for this region, and it is the councillors who bring your ideas, suggestions and issues to light. I realise I may not fit the current political mould of the North Burnett. However, I can assure you of my strength, passion, commitment and integrity will see a transparent council who highly values communities' opinions and ideas. A council who values and respects their staff, a council who looks for every possible efficiency, and a council who thinks outside the square. I have very high expectations of myself, other councillors and staff and will encourage and empower all to achieve great things. I cannot wait to represent the North Burnett as the strong, capable and progressive region I know it is. Thank you.
I'm a little bit older. Ladies and gentlemen, if people don't know me, my name is Brett Allen. So I'm the principal agent of Monto Livestock and Property up in Monto. We've had that business now for 2 years, and we've continued to make it as successful as we possibly can, and we've grown that business over those 2 years. My previous history in Monto and in this region was, well, I'm the chemist's husband. So we moved to Monto nearly 20 years ago, and my wife bought the pharmacy in Monto. I immediately retired from my positions in construction management and became the chemist's husband. But that didn't last very long until I ended up on the Monto Shire Council, where I spent 4 years as a community representative, but looking at how we're going to develop our town. We worked really hard in that time to actually implement and get funding to bring things into place. So we got parks, we got pathways. We worked very collectively with the shires around us. So we made sure that we always got development happening in the town. But the reason we got that development in our town was because we listened to what people wanted. It's not about us, it's not about the council, it's about every one of you people here. You're the voices of our community. The councils are in there by the good graces of your wishes. We're there to represent you. So those are the ways that we actually got things done back then. But a little bit more about probably me and where I've come from. My background is construction. I'm a licensed plumber, drainer, gas fitter, just one of those tradies. But I worked my way through my career, worked in a lot of different areas, heavy construction, overseas, New Guinea, Bougainville, and I worked my way through a series of areas until I got into project management. Late on in my life, I had the opportunity to work for a group of companies in senior management roles. So we looked at those senior management roles in corporations, in company transitions. So I oversee company transitions in management systems, and how that became more efficient to make those things run. That's a little bit of experience about what I did, but ultimately I was still the chemist's husband, and I still had to do what I was told. So we all know that. What can I bring to this area? Well, over the last few years, it's been evident that the amalgamation over the 2 councils that we've had, we continue to slip. And we continue to slip in looking at how our communities are represented. We continue to slip of how we're presented. Every one of our towns in this region is dynamically different. It has its own character. They have their own people, and we need that to continue. It's not about parochialism, it's about your towns and about the faith and the hope that you have for your towns and your community. But your council is the vehicle to be able to help you bring any of those projects and those wishes forward. Every town is different, it needs to stay different. We can't have one size fits all. There's policies governing everything that we have in council. Everything has a policy response. But unfortunately those policy responses are uniform right across the region, and they don't fit. Some of them definitely don't fit with every town. We've got to make sure that we're listening to the people of our towns. We've got to make sure not only we're listening, but we're hearing. Everybody wants something different. Can we service everybody? Probably not. But we can make sure that the money that we do have, we use to leverage for those projects that you have out there in your community. We spend a lot of money in economic development, and I can tell you now there's a lot of intellectual capital in our communities that can go a long way to help projects get undertaken and get maintained and continue because of that intellectual capital that we have. There's some very bright people in our communities. The money that we spend externally on consultants should be used internally. It should be used for seed funding to those projects that those communities want and need to be able to get extra funding and used for leverage to let those things happen. We've got to look at economic development in a broader picture. We've got to look at what the little spend that we do now, how that works in years to come, how it affects the community on a wider scale. Our road networks have gone backwards, and I don't care what anyone says, our road networks are going backwards. Our producers are getting more and more cost placed on them simply because it costs more to get their product out. There's nothing worse than the postie doing 6 or 7 sets of tyres in 6 months on a road that previously he didn't cost him anything because they were maintained. It's not much good having really good commodity prices if the transport company is going to charge you more to get your product out because the roads that we're driving on are unsatisfactory and substandard. We need to look at what our strengths are in our communities and what we're based on. Like I said, everybody here is a voice, and everybody's voice needs to be listened to and needs to be heard, but it needs to be acted on. Council need to be the ones that take your communities forward. Economic development, I want to see it done at a local level. I want to see what we can achieve to make sure, in a broader sense, that we are gaining the best possible outcomes. The most important thing for our communities is outside money. You can't bring it in if you don't give the facility. So we need to look at those areas. The management systems of our council, I call it an institutionalised system. We build layers. And as you build layers, responsibility and delegated authorities get lost. There's not much point putting information in if no information's coming out. We were all told as we went on that if you've got a question to council, put it in writing. Make it go to council. Put it in writing. Well, if you don't respond to that letter, then how do you know what's going on? There's nothing worse. If you're in business and you get an inquiry, you don't respond to it, you'll be broke. You need to know that if you've got a legitimate question to your council, that you're going to get a response from it. We need to make sure that we're listening to our community. One of the things I'd like to see when I move in there is to make sure that everybody knows where we are as a council. We need to be more transparent. We need to be able to tell our communities why we've made the decisions we've made. What prompted that decision to be made that way? Not leave it and let everybody try and work it out themselves. We need to make sure that we're bringing you with us, because at the end of the day, you're the people who want us there. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brett Allen. I'm seeking endorsement for the Mayor of the North Burnett Regional Council. Thank you very much for your time.